The moment my body started to change now, it just got to be fun. I was no longer dreading it. I was now excited about it. And then I started thinking about all the things I wanted to do if I was ever able to walk again.
Hello and welcome to the Pacific Channel, where you learn about the law of attraction, how to manifest anything you want, meditation, and more. In this video, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about what he did to heal himself after his harrowing bicycle accident where he broke his back in multiple places. The story goes that he had entered into a triathlon race, and during the bike portion of the race, he was wanting to go around some other riders but wasn't sure if it was safe. A cop waved him on but didn't see a truck coming around a corner, and neither did Dr. Joe. The truck hit him and sent him flying to the ground. He broke his back in multiple places. He doesn't say this in this video, but in others, he said that his doctors told him that he would never walk again. In this video, he explains in more detail exactly what he did to heal himself in only 6 weeks. He was already into yoga and hypnosis, and so that's where he got the idea that he might be able to heal himself. He explains 5 things that must be done to experience that kind of deep level of healing and mystical experience. See if you can repeat all 5 things, and I'll let you know what they are after he speaks. But also, Dr. Joe talks in more detail about his style of meditation, and he talks about why he has people breathe in deeply and hold it. When you do it right, it feels like electricity is shooting through your whole body, but it's random when it comes. It's not necessarily right when you start breathing. And you may tear up as you release resistance and allow that energy to flow. I've been able to do that part, but I haven't been able to go unconscious, which is supposed to be the ultimate level according to Dr. Joe. Let's listen to him now.
When I had my spinal injury, I was in my early 20s, and I just had enough background in yoga and enough background in hypnosis to understand that I had to, in some way, stay present and show my subconscious mind what exactly I wanted. So the only thing that I could do was vertebrae by vertebrae, repair the vertebrae, because that's all I knew. And I would say to my subconscious, this is what, or my autonomic nervous system, this is what I need repaired, and let me show you what it has to look like. Here's the template. Here's the design. And, I started off that way, and then, being injured like that, somewhere around the first 10, 15 minutes, I'd be thinking if I was going to be in a wheelchair the rest of my life, or if I should sell my practice, and then I would catch myself, oh my God, I'm focusing on what I don't want to have happen. So then I start all over again, but I get frustrated now with myself, and I get impatient and get harder to focus. And I kept winding up back there. And it took me time to realize that I was focusing on what I didn't want to have happen instead of what I did want to have happen. And somehow those emotions of survival were a key element in the process. But the technique becomes secondary with my ability to manage my attention and manage my emotions, because where I placed my attention is where I placed my energy, and I was catching myself investing into that future. Instead of catching myself and settling down and starting again, I would get angry and frustrated, and then judgmental, and then resentful, and then I'd be a mess, and it was a pretty dark night at the time. That being said, I wanted to, vertebrae per vertebrae, get to the point where I could design the whole thing and then surrender it to the subconscious mind, to the autonomic nervous system, because I knew that I couldn't do it. It wasn't me that was going to do the healing. I didn't know how to heal it. It has the understanding to take it like a dream and package it in a certain way, and then through the information and through the frequency of the nervous system that's carrying the information, begin to send that information to the cells, and the cells will make the DNA become activated, which will make the proteins, which will then make the collagen, which will then make the scaffolding of the bones repair. But I understood that the signal would do that innately, that the innate intelligence of the body could actually heal it. It didn't know how to heal it to the extent that I wanted it to, but there was some healing going on. I just wanted to push it past that point and program it to a greater degree. But it was my intention that mattered the most, and the sponsoring thought behind it. And so when I was able to go through the whole entire process, Alfred, it took me 2, 3, 3.5 hours sometimes, just tormented. When it started getting easier, I knew that I was firing and wiring circuits in my brain, and it was getting easier because I was doing it every day. And I was staying more present. I wasn't thinking about that any longer. It wasn't about healing. It was about effort. To go from one point to the other without breaking my focus, because I wanted to show it exactly what I wanted, not what I didn't want. I had nothing else to do. I had plenty of time to actually practice this. And so when I started seeing the changes in my health, when I started to see the changes in my pain levels and the numbness and all that other stuff, the moment my body started to change, now it just got to be fun. I was no longer dreading it. I was now excited about it. And then I started thinking about all the things I wanted to do if I was ever able to walk again. Now the whole thing changed. I wasn't obsessing about being in a wheelchair or being deformed or paralyzed and having sensory problems or having to get a surgery or whatever. I was thinking about doing the things I would love to do again, like sit at a table and have lunch with my friends, my buddies, to ride a bike again, to watch a sunset again. I promised myself. I just kept seeing those futures and emotionally getting excited about them. And I was conditioning now the body to believe it was living in that environment. Why? Because the body doesn't know the difference between the real life experience that creates the emotion and the emotion that I was creating by thought alone. So the innate intelligence, the body does that for us. Now, I've evolved quite a bit since 1986, I can tell you that, in terms of my understanding. But it's the intention and the elevated emotion and being present and constantly doing it and believing that it was possible that made the biggest difference. Now, if you have an MVP and you want to practice heart coherence, I'm certainly a big fan of studying this, because the more energy the heart has by putting your attention on it, and we see it filling up like a gas tank. You put your attention on it, the energy fills up in the heart. It's so important for that to happen because that's available energy for the heart to use. We have had numerous people have all kinds of changes in their heart, and I wouldn't try to see the cells make the proteins and the DNA becoming activated. I would just study that's the process when you give the cells the right emotional signature. If you combine that emotional signature with that intention, that clear intention, function of a coherent brain, an elevated emotion, a function of a coherent heart, somehow relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain, begins to produce phenomenological changes that take place outside of convention, outside of the normal. And we would call that a spontaneous remission or a spontaneous healing. So try it. The coupling of the contraction of those muscles, coordinating it with the breath that represents your intention to draw energy from that center with your breath and deliver it to another energy center because you have the free will to do that. If you practice that enough times, it's very, very difficult to think about your Instagram account when you're holding your breath, locking everything down and squeezing and pulling up. It's very hard to think about a whole lot of other things when we instruct people to this point. That the single-mindedness and the understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it, with your attention right on that target, the compression of those crystals creates that piezoelectric effect that activates that center, no different than activating your heart center. But this center somehow happens to have crystal structures in it that actually act as a telecommunications center to pick up very, very fast frequencies, very high frequencies. And those frequencies need some type of magnetic signaling system to be able to pick it up. And it has the machinery for that. And homing pigeons have it, and chameleons have it, and migrating birds and species activated, and all vertebrates have that system in some way interacting with energy that's not seen, that's information. And so the human being then, when that center becomes activated, the breath is one way to do that. And the movement of that energy, instead of releasing it out of the animal self, that the act is really a divine act to activate that other center. If the person is not resisting and they're not feeling tired or they can't get beyond themselves or wondering if they're doing it right, people say, what am I doing wrong in the breath? That's the thought you need to get beyond. Break it down and learn it again. Start over again and practice it just like you're practicing anything. Anything you practice, you have to stay conscious and get your body to do what your mind is thinking about. So there are people that reach this point, Sunday, where they have these incredible experiences and they see those fractal patterns, and that fractal pattern is a standing wave of energy and information that's going to be read by the laser, the coherence of the brain. Only a coherent field can read that information. So when the brain gets super coherent and that system switched on, it transduces that frequency into an inward experience. In melatonin, as you know, the derivatives actually change to produce upgraded versions of melatonin and change the mind. They change the experience of information that's not in the simulator but outside of it. And so I was very interested in the process for many, many years because I wanted to have more of those experiences. Those things tend to be more fun for me than many things in the simulator. Although I enjoy the simulator and I love life, at the same time, I just think maybe there's more information. It's a scientific fact that we perceive less than 1% of reality. In fact, the odds of that, in some article I read just recently, is 100%. So then our experience of reality is very limited, and we can't exclude ourselves from that process. So then we begin to experience the unknown self that we forgot that we were. That was once oneness. Remember, we're variations of oneness, and all having the free will to answer the question, how far does the rabbit hole go? Is there anything else? Can we explore it? And yeah, you can enjoy a sunset, but also, you can feel pain. And those are all experiences that we get to have in reality. So then the person who's having those experiences that wants to go a little further would fill their brain with information and knowledge about dimensions and other possibilities and time, space, and the many worlds theory and quantum physics, and just kind of be curious about that. And at the same time may want to get up a little earlier in the morning and do the breath to compress those crystals and practice that pineal gland meditation and work on sitting up for a little longer than you like to and see if you can stay present the entire time and go through those steps, and then lay down and inhale, exhale, take it to the next level if you truly want the mystical, and that it's right at your fingertips. So my advice to you is to keep doing it and maybe add something new, like doing the pineal gland meditation so that you can evolve your experience a little bit more. And if you've reached that point, you will lose consciousness at certain moments when that energy strikes your brain. It's a very blissful, numbing feeling that takes place, and it's electric. That's energy, that's the arousal. It's the reticular activating system opening up and becoming super awakened, not from the outer world, but from the inner world. And that thalamic gate opens and energy moves right into the brain, and that is that gamma pattern. And sometimes it's a lot of frequency, and sometimes people lose consciousness. And I have thousands of times for a period of time. But we shouldn't be afraid of it. I just know that if you can relax into it, it'll continue to evolve. And lastly, let's not make it be about that phenomenon. Let's make it be about how we can continue to experience greater level.
So, were you able to identify all 5 things to experience this kind of deep level of healing and mystical experience? The first one is to overcome resistance. So much of the problems that we experience in life is simply because we have resistant thoughts. Doubt, fear, and worry are all thoughts and feelings of resistance. The second thing is not feeling like a victim. This is about taking responsibility for everything in our lives instead of blaming others. The third thing is overcoming past emotions. You can do this with energy healing modalities like EFT, which is the best for this in my opinion. EFT is a tapping technique that can completely remove all negative feelings about past events and memories. The fourth thing is feeling the emotions of the future now. It's feeling as if you already have what you want. This is another law of attraction teaching that you create through the power of how you think and feel. Most think that you can't be happy until they heal themselves or get that new car or home or whatever. But that's backward. If you are happy first, then you will attract the healing, the car, and the home. The fifth thing related to not feeling like a victim is no longer feeling sorry for yourself. If you feel sorry for yourself, you're going to keep on creating things to feel sorry about. So this is about understanding and realizing that you create your reality. The bottom line is that you are the creator of your life. As Dr. Dyer said, when you believe it, you'll see it. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And leave a comment below about how you intend on taking more control of your life with your thoughts and feelings. Thanks for watching and have a great day or night.